Welcome to the Advancing Entrepreneur. This show is all about surrounding yourself for success. Hear stories of building traction, gaining acceleration, and creating results from successful entrepreneurs who have surrounded themselves with other successful entrepreneurs. And now, here's your host, Annette Nightingale James.
Good morning, Advancing Entrepreneurs. Annette James here, back with another episode of The Advancing Entrepreneur. And today I am joined by best-selling author Peggy McCall. Good morning, Peggy.
Good morning, Annette.
Are you doing well today?
Absolutely wonderful.
Is it cold wherever you are in the world, or are you kind of in a warmer climate?
It's bloody freezing.
You look kind of cozy there, so I just was figuring as much. So very good. Well, Peggy, I want to introduce you to our audience, and then I'm going to turn it over to you to expand.
Sure.
Peggy is a speaker, author, mentor, and an expert in helping authors, entrepreneurs, and experts create valuable products, build their brand worldwide, and make money online while creating international bestsellers. Peggy, you got to tell us some more about how we can all become best-selling authors and build our business.
Well, I ended up, stumbling into the business that I'm in, if you will. And I say stumbling because how I got into doing what I'm doing was by creating success for myself first. And then what happened was I ended up attracting people to me that said, how are you doing this? How are you selling so many books? How are you making such great success? And it was odd because at first when people started contacting me, I wasn't looking to get into the business of working with authors. That wasn't on my plan. And I incorporated my company 20 years ago, and it's called Dynamic Destiny. So the focus was really around goal achievement. That was the idea. And so when I wrote my first 3 books, they were all about goal achievement. And what happened was I started marketing online. I come from a technology background, not technical, but understanding technology and the potential of the reach. And I've been in sales and marketing and I've been a trainer for many years. So I just started tapping into the internet to market my books. And I found that people were really hungry for more, and they wanted programs and courses and coaching and handholding. And so I responded to that. I really paid attention to what people wanted, and I created programs that delivered on the things that were deeply desired in the marketplace. And of course, I started generating a lot of revenue. My business just continued to grow and grow and grow. So that caused a lot of other people to notice, because when you're online, right, and you're starting to get a lot of traction, you're visible. It's like you're exposed to the world. And so what happened was, as a result of that, I had a lot of authors come to me, recognized, like, we're really well-known authors, and then some unknown authors, and just said, help me, help me, help me, help me. And so as a result of that, I just created more programs and services to help them and to tailor for them. And so over the years, my business just continues to grow. I've generated millions of dollars in revenue. I run a very successful business. I'm sitting here in the comfort of my home, which I suspect you are too. And, I'm blessed to do work that I love, and I have really wonderful balance as well. Evenings off, weekends off, unless I'm traveling to speak at some conference. But for the most part, it really is an extraordinary life. And but it took a while. It took a while to really build it and grow it and expand. And there was a period of time when I sort of shift my business to this new model where there wasn't a lot of revenue coming in, but I just focused on my outcome and just continued to be of service. And I found that it just kept growing and growing and getting better and better.
I love that. What I want our audience to note there is that you might have had one vision for your company, but it pivoted, and you were able to follow what the customer wanted, and you were able to generate that into money. I think sometimes it's easy to get stuck on like this original idea that we had, and we're right, and we know what our audience needs more than we do. But if you'll listen to feedback and you'll kind of be willing to follow the pathway to cash, you can do really well. So I love that you shared that with us. So Peggy, one thing I talk about with all of my guests is, you're doing very well now, but like you said, when you shifted, there was a revenue dip, and I'm sure there were days when you hit roadblocks and things like that. What drives you every day as an entrepreneur?
I'm very much money driven. I've always liked money. And my first husband, I'm married, my second husband now, happily married. But my first husband used to call me his money making machine. And I like that. I mean, he called me some other things which weren't as nice, but
We will talk about that later offline.
but we're good friends now, and he has a great sense of humor. But I love making money. So honestly, I'm driven to make money. And when we think about it, it's not necessarily the piece of papers that we're looking for. It's what does money really do for you or bring to your life? What I love about that is the freedom, the time and money freedom that I have, and that I get to live this luxurious life and this wonderful life. So I'm driven by money, and I have no problem with saying that. There's not a shame attached to that. It's good. Like, money is an exchange of something of value. And I recognize that in order to be compensated, I must be giving something of value. That's the way it works in this universe, right? And so I'm driven to make money, but what really is behind that is how may I be of service that provides high value, that there will be an exchange of dollars. I'll give you something, you give me something, and there's going to be an exchange that's going to occur. My desire is that I give you more than what you've paid for so that you're thrilled and you're going to tell all your friends about the service. So that's part of what drives me. My number one value in my life is my family. There isn't anything more important to me than my son, my grandson, and my husband. I live a very blessed life. I'm so grateful to be surrounded by the love of all of them. And it's really important to me that I'm a role model for my son, that I'm a wonderful role model for my grandson too, and a playmate. He likes playing a lot. and a wonderful supportive partner for my husband too. My husband's been retired for 6 years, and he was a military pilot. He used to fly the Prime Minister of Canada, like Air Force One in the United States. And now he plays golf, and he's leaving tomorrow for a 2-week golf trip with the guys. And he's out playing hockey right now. He lives a wonderful life as well. And we're different in some ways, but we've got this wonderful respect and love for each other that truly is blissful. So that drives me too, just having the wonderful opportunity to enjoy a quality life with my family as well.
So I love that. I love that. How old is your grandson?
3.
Oh, of course he loves to play. I'm sure it's nice that you get to be the grandma that spoils him too, right? Because that's a earned right, but you have to have the resources to do it. So I love that. I think it's a really honest answer. And I think that's one thing about surrounding yourself with other entrepreneurs is you can kind of have those really frank conversations about, being successful and how meaningful that is to you. I think a lot of entrepreneurs are driven by that innate desire to be super successful, but not everybody kind of in the world or the real world or maybe the fake world, maybe we live in the real world, they don't always want to hear that. They think that sounds greedy or selfish. So surrounding yourself with the right people that you can have that frank conversation with is important. So I love that you shared that part with us. So I want you to talk about what kind of led you to going into business in the first place? What kind of was the inspiring factor to you? And when you did get started, what about it was maybe different than what you expected?
Money was I love money, lots and lots of money. No, money was a motivator, obviously, because I really believe that when you work for yourself, that's an opportunity to really do well. And of course, I have done very well. That's part of it. But also, more importantly, is that when I worked in the corporate world, it almost felt like, I think that the best way to describe it is like a prison sentence, right? Where it's like, I just didn't want to go to work, and it was like, I just hated being there. And it's like, this is a big part of your life that you're investing in this working world if you're not loving it. And so I wasn't really loving it. And for me, that was probably a bigger motivator than anything. I wanted to do work that was meaningful, that was enjoyable, and that could produce and provide a wonderful lifestyle as well. So those were the kind of like the 3 key things that really drove me to incorporate my own business and move into my own company. And what was the other part of your question?
Question is, I want to kind of showcase for the audience, if they're just getting into it or if they're kind of hitting a wall, that is something that we kind of all go through. So would you share with us maybe a time when you kind of hit a wall, or it was harder than you thought, or you weren't even sure if you're going to be able to continue on, just so our audience can understand that there's a way around those kind of roadblocks?
Sure. I have found that Many people have said that if they know what they know now, if they knew what they know now, they probably wouldn't have got into it in the first place. So one of the things that I missed very early in my decision to run my own business was this thing called automatic payroll deposit. You know, where money just gets put in your account every 2 weeks. It's like, wow, this is cool. And you could submit your expenses to somebody and they were paid. And it's like, and it wasn't you, it was somebody else that was paying them. And the other thing that I missed was going on vacation and actually having a real vacation, right? And my husband was telling someone the other day, we've been together 10 years, and he was telling someone the other day, he says, you know, the only time that Peggy and I actually had a real vacation was when we went on our honeymoon. And what's funny about that is that while Denny was sleeping, and my husband sleeps a little bit more than I do, I'm kind of high energy, and he likes to sleep a little bit more. When he was sleeping, I was checking my email, right? While we're on a honeymoon. So when he said that to somebody, I thought, no, it wasn't really like a vacation for me, because every day I was on email in the morning, you know, for about an hour while he was still sleeping. And so it was definitely an adjustment in the beginning. I also have realized that, and I think this is really important for entrepreneurs, that your motivation cannot be about just the money. Now, I mentioned money, and we're kind of joking about it here, but making money is part of it, but it really has to be something that you're passionate about, because if you're not, you're going to run out of steam. You're just going to not be fueled. You know, I was having a conversation recently with a couple friends of mine, and one of them is in the real estate market in the province that I live in Ontario, and the other friend of mine, she's in the province of Quebec. And I live on the border of the two provinces, right? And both of them absolutely love what they're doing, and they're both highly successful. And our home right now is for sale. That's why, you know, I was talking to these individuals, because we're looking at buying a home in Quebec, and we have a home here. And anyways, I was chatting with both of them, and they both love their business. The person that I've listed our home with, she doesn't love the business, and she's struggling. And it's true that no matter what business you're in, if you're not loving it, you're going to continue to struggle. You've got to absolutely love your business and every part of it, because you must be willing to do it for nothing. Because in the beginning, I was doing my work for nothing. I would go and speak at events. I would actually incur expense. And I still sometimes, I'm invited to go speak at conferences, and it's my expense to go there, and I'll fly first class, because I always travel in the front of the plane and the back of the car, front of the plane, back of the car. So I'll travel to these events, pay the first class ticket, stay in the luxury hotels, rent the finest cars. And you don't know if you're going to sell anything. I mean, you just don't know if you're going to make any money while you're there, but you got to be willing to do it. You've got to detach yourself from specific outcomes. Now, in my business, I know I'm going to generate money because I'm not foolish, but at the same time, you must be willing to do the things that other people aren't willing to do in order to get the results. So that's really key.
So I love that. I love that so much. So tell me, what do you do now, or maybe there was a specific time in your business when you realized that you had to surround yourself with other entrepreneurs? What is it that you did to surround yourself with entrepreneurs? How did you kind of plug into the community and kind of get that brainstorming the ideas, and also just the boost in energy that it takes to keep running a business?
Well, I have found that you will attract who you are. So if you're a negative person and you're not a successful person, you'll tend to attract people who are like that, or you'll stay in the environment that's like that. But if you're looking to be successful, and if that's not what you're experiencing right now, you have to first act as if, which means you must first feel as if you're already successful. And part of being successful is what I've been talking about. It's the selfless giving. It's the unconditional being of service. It's being positive. And we live in a very negative world. So you really almost have to surround yourself with a plexiglass of like a shield, where you don't let the negativity in. So when you're a positive person and you're really being positive, you're going to find that you're going to very likely change your friends. You'll end up getting attracted to more successful people. Like, I just don't spend time with negative people. I have no desire to spend time with negative people. And I think what happens is it's almost become a repellent. Like, when you are successful and you're being positive and you're being of service, you will not even let those people in. They're not going to be attracted to you into your life. So in order for you to have people around you, whether they're entrepreneurs, mentors, or whatever they are, you must first be that person. You've got to get the vision of whatever it is you want to create in your life, get very clear on what that looks like and feels like, more importantly, and then you'll start to attract the right people into your life. Then you'll hear about different programs or different events, and you'll end up hanging out with those kinds of people. I just choose to hang out with people that I know are wonderful and supportive. You know, my husband and I had a conversation about this recently because a friend of mine she was a client, now she's become a friend, had said at one of her speaking engagements, if you want to know how much money you earn, take a look at the 5 people you hang out with the most, right? And I said to my husband, I said, there are very few people I know making the money that I'm making. So I said, when I think about who I hang out with the most, like my husband, I mean, he's on a pension, right?
Oh, well, he's dragging you down, and that's number one.
That's right. So he's not making a lot of money. And then when I think about people that I hang out with that are making the money that I am, I see them rarely, right? Why? Because they're busy or they live in some other part of the world. They don't necessarily live here. And even those friends of mine that I mentioned that are in real estate, they're making, pretty darn good money, but not quite the level I am. So I don't think that's necessarily true, that if you want to know how much money you're making, take a look at the 5 people that you're hanging out with the most, because you're very likely hanging out depending on what your level is. Because I started to look at some statistics, and my husband went online, based on the money that I earn. And he said, honey, you're in a very tiny, less than 1% of the population make the money that you make. And he said, you're very likely, you're not going to hang out with those people because there's less than 1% of the population that make that kind of money. And so, but I think it is important more than anything is to get mentors. Get mentors that you respect and that you trust, that have blazed the trail before you, that have created success at the level you want to create. And they're the folks you want to hang out with. You want to learn from. You want to find out where they're going to be. You want to know where their events are, and you want to just study with them.
Right. So maybe more than like physically surrounding yourself with those people, but still finding a way to surround yourself with people, especially on a mindset level. Because there really have been studies done, and I think you probably, maybe that was like for the average person. But, I think so many people kind of, I don't mean to sound rude, but they kind of wander through life a little bit. And for those people, it's true. It's true. So our audience needs to realize you're listening to a goal setting, achieving guru here. We have, if you go onto Peggy's website, and we'll give that information in a little bit, you're going to see that she has a lot of experience, a lot of accolades in this area. So listen to what she's saying about sometimes you can't physically do that, and don't let that trip you up, right? You need to go out and seek it out. You need to surround yourself. And I mean, I hang out with, my 7 and 10-year-old, they make nothing. They make nothing. But it can be more of a mindset surrounding yourself with. So there are ways to do it, to get into the rooms. I always think of when I go to conferences and stuff, I put myself purposely in conference budgets that stretch me, not because of even the content in the room, but because I know that the other people in the room are the people that I want to become. I want to hang out in a room where people can plunk down $10,000 for a conference and it's just part of their business. So I love that you can actively seek people out. So that's fantastic. So I want you to tell us of a time, maybe it was one of these times when you realized what it was that people wanted in your business, but share with our audience kind of a light bulb moment in your business when you realized that you needed to pivot, or you had a brainstorming session or accountability session, or you had a session with one of your mentors, and it was just kind of like the light bulb went off and you're like, oh, this is going to change my life. This is going to change my business. So I'm sure you've had more than one. So if you'd share one with our audience.
Yeah, it was when I became an author, actually, because prior to that, I incorporated the business 20 years ago, and I've been doing consulting for corporations, and I've been doing workshops and trainings and things like that for many, many years. And then I got to a point where I got this wild idea to write a book. And it wasn't something that had, come from when I was a child going, oh, I want to write a book one day. It was just popped in my brain. So I thought, oh, I think I'll write a book. And I wanted to write a book because I felt there was a need in the marketplace. And where I felt the need is that I distill everything down to simplistic terms, right? Or simplistic understanding, because the more we understand it, the more we're going to apply it in our life. So my desire was to write a book to help people understand how they're creative and how they're destructive. Real simple, right? And so I wrote this book. I self-published the book. I printed 3,000 copies of a hardcover edition of the book. And then I thought, well, I guess I'll get them into bookstores. Isn't that where people go to buy books, right? So I got the books in the bookstores. Nobody's buying my book, right? Or I'm selling a handful here and there. And then a friend of mine said, you really need to learn how to effectively market books. If you're going to be an author and you're going to be in that business, you better learn how to market your books. So he said, Mark Victor Hansen, who had done the Chicken Soup for the Soul series with Jack Canfield, is doing an actual program for authors, helping them understand how to market their books. So he said, you need to get your butt down to that thing. And so I signed up for this program. I went down there, and just like you're talking about, get in the room, right? I got in the ballroom, sitting in the front row, and every speaker I got to know. As a matter of fact, that was many years ago, and many of them are really close friends of mine now. Many of them, the speakers that were on stage, I didn't know who they were from Adam when I went to this event, but now they're very close friends. So that was a pivotal moment, because I realized I really needed to learn that industry if I'm going to be in that industry. And I need to learn from people who had blazed the trail before me, people that knew how to get results. So I invested in them. And I learned, like, there was a guy there named Joel Roberts, who is a media trainer, and he'll teach you how to deliver your messages in sound bites when you're being interviewed on major TV or major media. And he was expensive, but he was really good. There was another woman there who charged and that was years ago, $600 an hour to be mentored by her for speaking. I signed on with her. Everybody who sold something, I was just like this hungry little dog, right? What do you got? Here's my credit card, right? It was smoking by the time I left this event. Yeah. So, it was an investment, because things shifted for me. I wasn't earning money at the time, and I was spending a lot, right? So I realized that in order for me to really make this a success, I needed to get specialized knowledge. So I acquired the specialized knowledge that I needed, and then I put it to work. So no amount of knowledge is going to bring anything. You've got to seek to have that level of understanding, and then you got to apply it. Then you're going to see the results.
Love it. I love it. There's so much about what you just said that I wish we had time to recap, but I love that you invested in yourself. I love that you jumped in, and like we said, you went and you put yourself in that room where other people could help you and where you could meet them, and that an investment in yourself is, you'll never have a better return on investment than an investment in yourself. So audience, I think we'll do like a breakdown session of just this, because this is such great stuff.
Thank you.
Okay, very good. So tell us, what are you up to now? You learned obviously how to market books. How many books have you written? There's quite a few on your website.
9.
9 books. That is amazing. So kind of tell us a little bit about where are you now? What are you working on? What do you want to share with the audience?
I'm focusing primarily on working with authors now, and I've been doing that sort of not as a primary focus. I've been doing online marketing in general for entrepreneurs, and doing still a lot of goal setting stuff. I don't think I'll ever get away from that. Of course, I incorporate it into my author program, but now I teach a program called the Millionaire Author Intensive. And it's an online program. I'm also doing a 2-day event in February 2015. We're getting the page set up for that. And that's really where I'm focusing, I'd say, the majority of my efforts. I've got another book that I'm working on right now. It's called Darn Easy. And darn easy is how to uncomplicate your life and your business, because people just make it far more complicated than it needs to be. And I'm writing that with a good friend of mine, Brian Proctor, who's Bob's son. And we delivered a program together. And the book is actually, come out of that. It's flourishing as a result of the program that we're doing together. But mostly I work with authors now, and I'm very blessed to do either new authors or authors that have written their books or have 25 books. I've had authors call me who have had 25 books and now they need help. And I've worked with many authors like Neil Donald Walsh and Marianne Williamson and Wayne Dyer and Deepak Chopra and Greg Braden and Marcy Shimoff, Debbie Ford. Like, many of the great authors that are really well known in the industry are also my clients that I've been blessed to serve. And the reason why they called me is because, again, I know how to get results when it comes to books. And so I really help authors get their books written, make them international bestsellers, and then extend beyond the book into revenue sources, because you got to be making money. If you're not making money in your business, you're going to quickly be out of business.
I would venture to say, and I would love to hear your take on this, the book is really the entry point. It sets you up as the expert, and it opens the door to, it's really just one of the steps down that pathway of creating value.
It can be, and it doesn't have to be the entry point, though. The book can come after. And so I work with clients who have an idea or they have expertise that they want to share. And so what I do is I help them create a program, because you're going to make a lot more money initially in the program than if you are selling a book. Now, you can make money with books. I'm not saying you can't. I've made a lot of money. My books are in 37 languages now and sold in 82 countries in the world. But what I'm saying is that it doesn't have to be the seed point or the entry point. It can be. It certainly can be. It's a great way to do it, but it doesn't have to be.
So very good. But marrying the two together, the program and a book, right? Not just one or the other. So, okay, I love that. I love that. All right, Peggy, this is the time we're going to do a little speed round now, playing favorites, so our audience can get to know you a little bit better. So tell us, Peggy, what is your favorite charity?
Charity is the Children's Wish Foundation. It's a Canadian charity.
Okay, very good. Well, I'm sure we're going to have some, we have listeners up there as well in different parts of the world. Do you happen to know the URL for that? Would you like to share?
childrenswishfoundation.ca maybe, I don't know.
They'll Google it. We'll find the link, put it on the show notes page. Tell us, Peggy, what is your favorite quote?
It's by Oliver Wendell Holmes, which is, if one advances confidently in the direction of their dreams and endeavors to live the life that they have imagined, they will meet with success unexpected in common hours.
So I love that. Tell us, Peggy, what is your favorite discovery? Do you have an app or a resource that you use in your business that you'd like to share with our audience?
App or resource? I have found the thing that has helped me more than anything else in my life is something that I created called the Power Life Script. And that's where I've scripted in detail my life as I choose for it to be, very positive in present tense. I record it and then I listen to it. I listen to it every day. As a matter of fact, before you and I got on this call together, I was just listening to it. And that to me is kind of like my secret weapon. So
very cool. Can they find out more about that on your website?
Yeah, I think there's a free gift on there where I talk about it, a manifestation tool.
That sounds pretty neat. I like it. I like it. Peggy, tell us, what is your favorite song? Do you have something you use to kind of get yourself pumped up, or just something that you enjoy listening to?
The first one that comes to my mind is I'm Too Sexy for My... The reason why that, I have a good sense of humor, as you can tell, but the reason why it popped into my mind is I was speaking at a conference last week, and the AV guy taps me on the shoulder as I'm getting ready to go up, and he goes, "Any song you want me to introduce you to?" And I turned and I said that one. I don't even know where it came from, right? So he played, and I was doing a sexy dance on stage, and everybody was just laughing. It just put everybody, it sort of relaxed them all. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, entertaining too. Good, very good. Well, tell us, what is your favorite business book? We're going to plug all your books on the show notes page, but if you want to give us a book outside of the 9 bestsellers that you've written.
I would say it's The Science of Getting Rich by Wallace D. Wattles.
So very good. Very good. All right. Very good. Advancing Entrepreneurs. If you go to IamAdvancing.com, you type Peggy into the search bar, you are going to get connected to her website, the books that she has written, and of course, her favorite quote and the favorites that she shared with us here today. Peggy, I want you to share with our audience, what is one piece of advice that you as yourself today would have given yourself when you first got into business?
I would say that it's just, learn to love yourself more, because one of the great things that you can do in your business is to gain more confidence. And I'd focus more on increasing your confidence to a high level of confidence earlier in the game, right? I find that confidence is a struggle for a lot of people. It really is. I see a lot of people with huge talent, with brilliance, with wisdom, and the reason why they're struggling is because they don't believe in themselves. So you got to believe in yourself more than anything. That's what I would have told myself earlier on.
So perfect. Go ahead and let our audience know where they can find you and connect with you, and then we'll say goodbye.
Sure. They can go to my website, PeggyMcCall.com, which is PeggyMcColl.com.
So very cool. Peggy, thank you so much for spending the time here with us today. Entrepreneurs, go to IamAdvancing.com, type Peggy into the show notes page. We're going to link everything up that we've talked about here today so that you too can advance. Thanks so much, Peggy.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to this episode of The Advancing Entrepreneur. If you enjoyed it, leave us a rating and review. Not only will it make our day, you'll also be helping others find this show and advance their own careers. Once you're done, be sure to head on over to IamAdvancing.com and join our community to learn what it takes to be an advancing entrepreneur and surround yourself for success. Thanks again, and get ready to advance.